Welcome to The Needle, your Division I college basketball podcast. I'm Jack Williams, owner and operator of D1CoachCorner.com, your source for college basketball news, rankings, and predictions. On this podcast, we will present to you weekly conversations on D1 college basketball coaches and their teams. Don't forget to go right now on your computer, phone, or tablet and follow us on Twitter. This episode of The Needle is brought to you by D1CoachCorner.com, your source for Division I college basketball coaches.
Thank you once again for joining us on The Needle. Again, my name is Jack Williams, owner and operator of D1CoachCorner.com, your source for college basketball news, rankings, and predictions. D1 Coach Corner is the number one source for college basketball preseason predictions and college basketball coach evaluations. The Needle College Basketball Podcast will bring to you 52 weeks of college basketball talk on topics dealing with Division I college basketball coaches and their teams. Today we'll be having a discussion on conference bottom dwellers, meaning those teams who are fighting to get out of last place of their conference. Some teams who are dwelling in the crap pit are just fighting to keep a goose egg off their record. We will also bring to you our new Coach Impact segment, which will highlight coaches who have recently taken over a team and has positively impacted the team as a result of him being there. And then we will get into our Hot Seat Watch List segment of our show, which highlight coaches who have been with their team for over 5 seasons but hasn't yet produced a winning season or anything close to it, or a major Division I head coach who can't seem to get his team past the first round of the NCAA tournament. Now, the bottom dwellers, the short pit. There are several teams in the short pit that has goose eggs this season, meaning they are winless, such as Tulane in the American. Western Michigan just won a game, so we will count them out. But San Jose State of the Mountain West Conference, California in the Pac-12 Conference, Vanderbilt of the SEC, Portland of the West Coast Conference, and Chicago State of the WAC. All of them winless. What happened to these teams that they are so horrible? Well, let's look into a few. Let's start with Tulane. This team was starting to get better last season compared to the first season that Mike Dunleavy Sr. took over. They were 3-5 in Coach Dunleavy's first season there, finishing in 10th place. Then the next season they won 2 more games than they did the previous season. They finished the 2017-2018 season with a conference record of 5-13, but still in 10th place. Fast forward to 2018-2019, and they haven't won a game as of yet. I'm going to be honest with you. If Tulane finished the season winless in the American, Tulane's going to throw Coach Dunleavy short out the door. I'm just saying. So what's wrong with this team? And do they have a chance to at least win one game before the season ends? Well, to answer the first question, there is nothing good about this team this season. They are horrible on both ends of the court. They can't play defense or offense. They have a negative 8.7 scoring margin. Tulane actually has some pretty good players to work with. Sophomore point guard Caleb Daniel averages 15.7 points, 5 rebounds, and 3.1 assists per game. Junior forward Samir Sahik averages 11.3 points and 7.6 rebounds per game, and senior shooting guard Jordan Cornish averages 11 points and 4 rebounds per game. So why this team continues to be so bad is beyond me. Now, Western Michigan. The Western Michigan Broncos are also fighting to get out of the bottom of their conference, but this isn't a normal thing for this team. The Broncos are led by 16th-year veteran Coach Steve Hawkins, who had won the MAC Coach of the Year award back in 2014. You know, there's actually some stiff competition in the MAC this year, however. Buffalo is ranked in the nation and has been that way for several weeks. Toledo and Bowling Green are right in the mix with Buffalo, except they didn't have as hard of a preseason conference schedule as Buffalo. Northern Illinois is actually playing good basketball this season as well. Western Michigan has problems at the point guard position. Outside of point guard Michael Flowers, there isn't anyone else on the team who could move the ball. Flowers is the only player on the team who averages more than 3 assists per game. Western Michigan is next to last in the MAC and 302nd in the nation in assists per game. They are last in the MAC and 313th in the nation in turnovers per game. Western Michigan commits on average 15.3 turnovers per game. More than 15 turnovers in a game almost always equals a loss. Now, San Jose State, second-year coach John Prelo has only one conference win out of 27 conference games played since 2018. In the words of Charles Barkley, that's terrible, man. Coach better get his stuff together over there or he's going to have his short thrown out the door too. I'm just saying. San Jose State is absolutely horrible in all categories of college basketball. They are dead last in the Mountain West Conference and 333rd in the nation in scoring defense. They are also dead last in the Mountain West Conference and 330th in the nation in scoring. To Coach Prelo's defense, I don't recall this team ever having a winning season in the conference since joining the Mountain West in 1997. Good luck to Coach Prelo. Another team that's dwelling in the basement of its conference is California. This team had one of the worst conference records in team history last season, ending the season with a 2-16 record, a 12th place finish. And it looks as if California is going to break that record this year. This team is 0-11 as of now, winless in a season where the Pac-12 is at its weakest. California is led by second-year head coach Wyking Jones, who took over the team after Quanzo Martin left the team to take on the job at Missouri. Coach Jones has never been a Division I college head coach prior to coaching this team. This team is terrible. They have the worst defense in the nation. Their opponent averages 79.2 points per game on them. You know what? Let's go ahead and add Coach Jones to our updated hot seat watch list and add the athletic director as well. Let me reiterate, most coaches are given 5 seasons to get their teams to some type of tournament. But there is one clear way to shorten that 5 season, and that is to have a winless season. Why? Because what normally follows a winless season is low ticket sales. Now on to Vanderbilt. Go ahead and add Bryce Drew to the hot seat watch list as well. I don't think Vanderbilt has ever had a winless season since joining the SEC. Did someone laugh at Coach Stallings for getting fired at Pitt after a winless season there? Because the curse of Coach Stallings is on Vanderbilt. Coach Kevin Stallings was Vanderbilt's winningest coach in school history. Don't forget that Vanderbilt finished 13th in the SEC the previous season under Coach Drew. Not good. Not good, man. Now for Portland, Coach Terry Porter and his team is also in the basement. Coach Porter is one of the good to great NBA players turned Division I college basketball coach that we discussed in episode 11. Coach Porter is in his 3rd season at Portland and hasn't yet produced a winning season in the West Coast Conference. Coach Porter became the head coach at Portland after the firing of longtime head coach Eric Ravino, who was fired after 10 seasons at Portland. Ravino started his career at Portland in 2006 with back-to-back losing seasons. He picked it up, however, in just his 3rd season, in which Portland had placed 3rd in the West Coast Conference with a 9-5 record. Portland had also participated in the CIT that season. Coach Porter is in his 3rd season and is winless with a 0-11 record. Let's hope that Coach Porter removes that goose egg from his record by the end of the season, or else. Another one is Chicago State. Now, a goose egg ain't nothing new for this team. Better yet, we may as well rename this team the Chicago State Goose Eggs. This team is always in the bottom of their conference and is in a fight every year to prevent a goose egg, not to make it into the tournament. This team has won 2 out of the last 49 conference games played. It is safe to say that this is the worst basketball program in Division I college basketball. Don't fire the coach, fire the whole damn entire program. Why are they even in Division I college basketball if they can't compete? I hate it for Chicago State, though, because that's my hometown. But the truth is the truth. Now, most of these teams that we've named earlier are nearly winless in their conference. Now, let's look at a few who aren't winless, but yet sits at the bottom of their conference. These are a few teams sitting at the bottom of their conference who are actually very competitive, believe it or not. One is the West Virginia Mountaineers in the Big 12. This is a rare thing for Coach Bob Huggins. I can guarantee you that we will not see this team at the bottom of the Pac-12 any other time after this season. I mean, this team is just not gelling this season. They are without Sagoba Konate, and Coach Huggins has just recently dismissed Issa Ahad and Wesley Harris for violating team rules. We can go ahead and write this season off for 2019 for West Virginia. West Virginia is currently 2-9 in the Big 12. Another one is Xavier. Xavier's record doesn't reflect how hard this team has played this season. They compete day and night with every team, and it's very difficult to beat this team at home. The home losses that they've accumulated were very close games, and Xavier has also won 11 games for this season. Xavier is 3-8 in the Big East. In the Missouri Valley Conference, we have Evansville and Indiana State. The entire Missouri Valley Conference is competing this season. Any team can slip up and be at the bottom at any given night. Evansville and Indiana State are both fighting to stay out of the basement, and both teams are 4-8 in their conference. Same thing with Lafayette, Loyola MD, and Boston University of the Patriot League. All of these teams are tied for 4-8 in their conference. Like I said before, any of these teams could be at the bottom of their conference at any given night. That's how competitive the Patriot League is this season. Now, Tennessee Tech, UT Martin, and Southeast Missouri State are all fighting to stay out of the bottom of the Ohio State Conference. They are tied at 3-9, and so much for that. Now, let's look into some bottom-dwelling games played in Week 14 of college basketball to see which teams moved up from the basement or down into it. On Tuesday, February 12, 2019, Penn State defeated a ranked Michigan team at home in the Bryce Center in University Park, Pennsylvania, in an attempt to move up out of the basement of the Big Ten. Unfortunately, they're going to need a few more wins to do that. Penn State may be at the bottom of the Big Ten, but they are still very competitive in the conference. Western Michigan finally wins a game at home in Kalamazoo, Michigan, against a good Northern Illinois team. Unfortunately, they will remain in the basement of the Mid-American Conference. In the meanwhile, Davidson wins on the road against the bottom-dwelling Fordham. Fordham moves to 1-10 after the loss. On Wednesday, February 13, 2019, Villanova defeated Providence at home to send them tumbling down to the short pit. Xavier, Creighton, and Providence are all in a race to stay out of the bottom of the Big East. Texas Tech wins on the road to Oklahoma State to help send them back to a place where they know very well, the bottom. Now, Florida State demolishes Wake Forest at home and put Wake Forest just one game shy of gaining the ACC bottom-dwelling title, last place. Virginia Tech wins over Georgia Tech to put them just 2 games shy of earning the ACC last-place title. Memphis wins on the road against Eastern Carolina to help put them closer to the American bottom-dwelling title. But don't worry, I'm pretty sure that Tulane is going to have this one all to themselves. In the meanwhile, Rutgers win on the road against Northwestern to put them just 1 game shy of winning the Big Ten bottom-dwelling title. New Hampshire got their butts whipped by the American East frontrunner, Vermont. New Hampshire has the American East bottom-dwelling title all to themselves. Evansville moves closer to winning the bottom-dwelling title in the Missouri Valley Conference by losing on the road to Missouri State. In the battle of the bottom dwellers, UNC Asheville creeps past South Carolina Upstate to give Upstate the last place crown all to themselves. New Mexico demolishes San Jose State at the Dream Style Arena in New Mexico. San Jose State remain winless at the bottom of the Mountain West. California holds a tight grip at the bottom of the Pac-12 by losing at home against UCLA. California remains winless in the Pac-12. On Thursday, February 14, 2019, Western Michigan loses to Kent State to take another L for the season. Western Michigan will remain at the bottom of the MAC this week. Cleveland State takes a 1.5 game lead over Milwaukee to receive the bottom-dwelling crown with its loss to UIC. VMI keeps a tight grip at the bottom with its road loss to Wofford. UTEP, in the meanwhile, is in the race for the bottom with Charlotte. UTEP loses on Wednesday to Louisiana Tech to inch closer to the crown. CSU Bakersfield got some good practice on Thursday against Chicago State. Of course, Chicago State will remain winless. That goes without saying. Denver and Idaho both lose games to remain at the bottom of their conference. Denver loses to Fort Wayne, while Idaho loses to North Colorado. On Friday, February 15, 2019, Columbia inches closer to the bottom-dwelling crown in the Ivy League with its loss to Yale. On Saturday, February 16, 2019, West Virginia inches closer to receiving the bottom-dwelling crown in the Big 12 with a road loss to Kansas. Pittsburgh takes a half-game lead over Wake Forest for the bottom-dwelling title in the ACC. Pittsburgh lost to Virginia Tech on Saturday. Vanderbilt loses yet another game to a good Auburn team to hold the crown in the SEC. Bottom dwellers New Hampshire, South Carolina Upstate, UTEP, Chicago State, Incarnate Word, Kennesaw State, San Jose State, Columbia, California, and Tennessee Tech. All of these busters move an inch closer to the bottom-dwelling title. Now that concludes the needle moving portion of our show. We will now move on to the new Coach Impact segment and the Hot Seat Watch List portion of our show. This portion of our show is brought to you by D1CoachCorner.com, your source for college basketball news, rankings, and predictions. Once again, don't forget to go follow us on Twitter after the show at D1CoachCorner. In this new Coach Impact segment, we will be discussing coaches who have been head coach of a particular Division I basketball team for no more than 5 years and who are on the upward trend towards taking their team to another level. This week's new Coach Impact highlights Coach Michael Huger of Bowling Green. Coach Huger is in his 4th season at Bowling Green and has his team growing every year. Bowling Green is tied for first place in the MAC with ranked Buffalo. Bowling Green and Buffalo have very good chances of participating in postseason tournaments this year. Now on to our Hot Seat Watch List. Our Hot Seat Watch List highlights Division I head coaches who have, for the most part, been with their teams for over 5 seasons, but hasn't yet produced a winning season or anything close to it, or a major Division I head coach who can't seem to get his team past the first round of the NCAA tournament. Not good. This week's Hot Seat Watch List highlights everybody that I named on this show, except for West Virginia. Put them all on the Hot Seat Watch List. The goose egg has shortened your 5-year window dramatically. You bottom dwellers and short kickers better start winning soon, or your team is going to pack your bag and throw your short at the door. I'm just saying. That concludes our show for this week. Join us next week at the same time and channel for a new episode. We will be happy to take on your questions and comments on Twitter for our next episode. Our Twitter handle is at D1CoachCorner. That is at D1CoachCorner. See you next week.